interesting industry presentation talking about zero trust data security by Mr. Gurinder Singh Narang, who is the Manager Sales Engineering India and SAARC. Netskope. A huge round of applause for Mr. Gurinder Singh Narang. Thank you.
Thank you so much for giving me time on this podium. The topic for my discussion is, as you see, like zero trust data security. And in fact, throughout the day, we have been hearing a lot of buzzwords like platform-centric approach, like a lot of vendors pushing platforms now instead of piecemeal solution, and AWS adoption, which I think so we are seeing a lot of organizations as well as government have also started adapting AWS platform, work from home culture, hybrid approach, and in fact, a lot of these things you will hear in my presentation also. But the prime focus area for my presentation will be more on the data protection side and how exactly data protection has evolved over a period of time, where the traditional piecemeal solutions as well as traditional on-prem solutions on the data protection side are today not able to cater to the new age requirements which has come up with heavy cloud adaptation, IaaS platform adaptation, and SaaS application adaptation. So ideally, like if I talk about today organizations are moving from perimeter to the cloud, and there is a heavy adaptation for IaaS services like AWS, Azure, GCP, or even the SaaS applications like O365, GitHub, or Teams. Like when we saw COVID, there was a lot of adaptation of Teams as an application in order to communicate, or even the Zooms of the world. So when you start adapting these applications, so there are a lot of challenges with respect to data leakage or security which automatically comes in. And the change which we observed was very abrupt because people were initially on the perimeter side, but in last 2 or 3 years, there has been heavy adaptation on the cloud side. So in that case, the traditional DLP solution approach which was more focused on web channel, email channel, and host DLP channel or host channel, so was diluting, and it was not able to take up the challenges which were thrown with respect to adaptation of IaaS application or SaaS application, or even the private application, because today a lot of private application are also given access to contractors or third-party consultants. So wherein, when you talk about adapting, say, an IaaS application, like say AWS S3 buckets, so the challenge when you compare it with a piecemeal solution or traditional solution was that when you adapt AWS buckets or probably AWS platforms or services, there is a cloud-to-cloud transaction which is happening, which gets unnoticed by the on-prem DLP solution. So when you compare an on-prem DLP solution to the zero-day centric DLP solution, so ideally a zero-day centric DLP solution will also cover the other channels which today a lot of organizations are adapting. So when you adapt a S3 bucket, you can easily copy the data from your corporate S3 bucket and you can infiltrate to a personal S3 bucket. So when you see these kind of transactions are happening cloud to cloud, and there is no perimeter security which can really help us with those transactions. So when a DLP solution which was deployed on the perimeter, it was not able to cater to these cloud to cloud transaction use cases. In addition to that, when you adapt these SaaS or IaaS application, they are very dynamic in nature. So when you adapt a AWS platform, there are a lot of teams managing that platform, and there will be many changes with respect to configurations which will happen on this platform, and which has led to a lot of leakages like with respect to data, like confidential data getting leaked from the S3 buckets or other AWS services which we have witnessed in last couple of years. In addition to that, when we talk about SaaS applications like Teams or Zoom, when you adapt these applications, again, the challenge which we observed was there was a lot of data leakage which happened with on Teams chat when organizations started adapting. And again, since these application servers are hosted outside your premises, people can easily share that information outside, and the perimeter security really fails to observe what exactly is happening on a Teams chat or Zoom. Also, if I talk about like the private applications, so a lot of customers, they have private applications and they have to give access to those applications outside their network to consultants. So when you talk about giving access to these crown jewels, and there's a lot of confidential data inside these applications, so traditional piecemeal solutions or traditional DLP solutions were not able to cater to this particular use case also, which become very prominent in last 3 or 4 years. So ideally, there was another loophole which was which we observed when you talk about SaaS application. There can be multiple instances of same application, but when you talk about the traditional security solutions or DLP solution, they will see for a Google Drive, they will see a URL as drive.google.com, but they will not be able to differentiate whether it is a corporate instance of Google Drive or a personal instance of Google Drive. So when you talk about a typical host DLP solution, they will not be able to differentiate between two instances, and you have to either allow a particular application, and in that case, data leakage can easily happen to personal Google Drives or a consultant Google Drives also. So these use cases also became prominent when you start adapting these SaaS applications, and they were again unseen by the traditional DLP approach. In addition, we also witnessed that when people were working from home, they were taking screen captures for a lot of confidential data, which was easily getting shared outside the network. And since the data was not coming to the on-prem solution, so there was no image scanning which was happening typically for the confidential data, or you talk about OCR scans. And again, the traditional DLP solutions were also not able to take care of these use cases, which became very prominent. And there was a lot of data leakage which happened during the COVID era for a lot of organizations which we witnessed. So ideally, what is the solution for that? We patronize the adaptation of zero-trust data security models, which are typically more adaptive and persuasive in nature. Means like a typical traditional DLP solution, if you see, it's more static in nature with respect to policies. But when you talk about a zero-trust approach, it is more adaptive. It is more adaptive with respect to forming a bubble for a particular user and providing a user-centric security, wherein a user can be anywhere across the globe, but the same set of security controls can permeate to the user when he is working inside the network, outside the network, or is working outside country. So in that case, there is no boundation to the parameter. First thing is that. Second thing is, with respect to these zero-trust data security approach, basically user will have an adaptive policy posture, wherein if a user posture changes with respect to different state of the user or with respect to kind of application he's trying to access, the policies will automatically adapt to it. So it's basically based on the risk-centric approach, where based on the different set of user activities or user behaviors, a policy will automatically change with respect to risk score. So if I see that a particular user is trying to access a business application, he will be allowed to upload the data on that particular business application, say S3 buckets or Google services or AWS services, which the corporate has provided. But if he is trying to share something from the S3 bucket outside the network or to another domain which is not allowed, so in that case, that cloud-to-cloud transactions will be seen and will be blocked in real time with the help of the new age zero-trust DLP solution. So ideally, it also uses a lot of UBA as well as MLAI engines when you talk about this zero-day centric data protection approach, which is utilized for specifically SaaS application usage or IaaS application usage, which has become very heavy with respect to adaptation of hybrid approach for working or work from home scenarios. In addition, these solutions also cater to a lot of deep controls inside a specific application. Like say, if I talk about a traditional DLP solution, which was more static in nature, they will either allow or block a certain activity. But when you compare it with the zero-day centric approach, we can attach different risk profiles to different activities. And on the basis of that, you can decide whether this particular user is allowed for non-risky activities or not. And ideally, what is happening typically in these scenarios is we are also reducing a lot of false positives, which was a big challenge for a traditional DLP solution approach, where because of the static nature of policy constructs, they were not able to create those adaptive policies, which is very much possible in the zero-day centric approach, which caters to SaaS as well as the IaaS security. In addition to that, when you talk about Netskope, we basically are a cloud security solution provider. We provide a platform-centric approach in order to give protection to the organization with the help of our platform. And we have been recognized as leaders in SSE's secure service edge space, where we are helping the organizations with the digital transformation and cloud adaptation. Specifically, if I talk about adaptation for AWS, Azure, GCP platforms or SaaS applications, which have become very prominent today. So we provide that access in a very secured way with all the zero trust principles in place. And we have multiple modules in place with respect to our platform, which can be catered or provisioned based on the kind of use cases a particular organization has, whether it DLP is particular module or a microservice. Similarly, UB analysis, web security, or probably you can talk about firewall as a service or a zero trust VPN centric solution, which are there. So ideally, with the help of this platform, we are helping the organization fortifying with the new age challenges of work from home or hybrid approach, where people can access these applications securely. So this is something which I had for today's discussions. Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Once again, can we have a louder round of applause for such an amazing presentation? I would now like to call on the dais Madam L. Ramadevi, Director and OSD Emerging Technology and IT, Electronics and Communication Department, Government of Telangana, to please acknowledge a wonderful presentation given by Mr. Gurinder Singh Narang, Manager Sales Engineering, India and SAARC, Netskope. Once again, thank you